Well, Ali Hijazi is the Lebanon country director for Lutheran World Relief, one of the humanitarian organizations offering support to internally displaced people in Lebanon. He is joining us now from Beirut. And over the past week, we have been speaking about hundreds of thousands of people who have been displaced, people who are moving very often from the southern parts of Lebanon towards northern Lebanon, but they don't always have anywhere to go. It's not clear if the Lebanese government has the resources to provide them with shelter and everything they need. What can you tell us about this mass displacement crisis in Lebanon right now?
Good evening, Mariam, and thank you for having me tonight. Actually, Lutheran World Relief Lebanon has been trying from day one to cover this unprecedented humanitarian crisis and catastrophic tragedy in Lebanon. As you just described it, we have never seen in the modern history of Lebanon something like that. And I believe we do have more than 200,000 IDPs as of today, and the number is expected to grow and skyrocket. I believe people, Mariam, were not ready. They were not given enough time. They had children and women. They had few minutes to take the ride in the car and move in a journey of 12 hours just to cross tens of kilometers towards Beirut and North Lebanon. So this is really catastrophic. We've seen women, we've seen children waiting in the car, looking for a place to go. They did not have money, they did not have enough resources, food, water. So everything is needed from the world to support this crisis. And this is what LWR is doing now on the ground.
I think the Lebanese authorities have spoken about opening more than 200 shelters across the country, with the majority of them being public schools. But this is probably only a fraction of what is needed to meet people's needs.
Exactly. Actually, the Lebanese government did like a plan. There is an emergency unit and they're opening shelters. But the major problem is that the number of internally displaced people is huge. We are talking about over 200,000, and I believe this number would easily reach 500,000. So the number of shelters is not enough, and the shelters they opened are not equipped. We have a lack of electricity, of water, of really basic services that are needed for the internally displaced people to at least live with dignity. But all what they were looking for was their safety and to flee the war and atrocity of bombs and raids.
What are the implications of what you have just said? Help us understand how the country would, help us understand how the country would cope with a scenario in which you have 500,000 people displaced. Presumably, there are people who would end up, this would affect neighboring countries in the region, because they would probably want to try and leave the country if no area feels safe.
According to UNHCR, over the past 72 hours, they were talking about 30,000, including Syrian refugees who moved to Syria. So this is completely true. And I want to elaborate furthermore that this is taking the country into a dramatic socio-demographic change. You can see the number of cars that Beirut is not able even to absorb. The streets, you have really, this is just the beginning of this humanitarian tragedy, and where you will see dire social consequences. Because remember, those people, they lost their access to income, to jobs, they don't have money. So furthermore, and through the days, they will be really running out of resources. And this is definitely will create more tension, more pressure on our infrastructure. And we know so well that the country has been living in a chaotic economic crisis since 2019. So definitely the consequences will be sporadic, and this is going to be an exponential impact on the socioeconomic dynamics in Lebanon.
I want to thank you for speaking to us tonight about this critical dimension of the story. Thank you very much, Ali Hijazi, Lebanon Country Director for the Lutheran World Relief Organization, which has been offering support to internally displaced people in Lebanon. Ali describing there a scenario in which we could see 500,000 people displaced inside Lebanon.